What's up, guys? We're here to go over UFC 289, Nunes versus Aldana. Um, yeah, no results to go over just yet. We just had the week off. Albazi versus Cara France is a couple days from now. I'm sorry, I meant to get this video out a long time ago, but I got sick at the beginning of last week, like Tuesday, and it was bad. And I'm still not completely over it. But yeah, I was down. I was out of there for several days. So luckily, I got most of my research done on this card before it happened. It's the last few fights. I really watched all the tape. Just didn't have time to do all the notes. So, but yeah, man. So if you're new to the channel, what I do is I go through and I give out all my picks, and then at the end of the video, I go over my bets for the card. Everything's free. I do all this stuff. It's on my. You can go find all my stuff on my Instagram as well. Highkick_fight picks. If you don't want to watch the video, just want to see my picks and my bets, you can go over there and see it there. I also post all that stuff in the community tab on my YouTube channel. Um, and yeah, I'm available on Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iTunes, all that stuff. So yeah, a little bit disappointed, dude. Y'all know I had a lot. I had probably a total of like $2,500 riding on Kudalice, coming up in a couple days, and he dropped out of his fight. So that seems to be how it always goes, man. Yeah, it seems like every week, it's like the fighters that I'm most invested in just fall off. Their fight gets canceled, whatever. But this is a pretty stacked card, man. A lot of really good fights on here. A lot of good places to make money as well. Um, did lose quite a few good fights. Dawoodu versus Almeida would have been good. Thompson versus Pereira. Schnell versus Dvorak. I didn't even realize that um, Matt Schnell was out, so gonna have to wing Steven Ursig, I guess. But man, I just went over a Steven Ursig's fight like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, so I kind of remember the gist of that. Um, yeah, so I guess let's just get into the card, man. And first up, we got David Dvorak taking on Steve Ursig, and David Dvorak is 31 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. He is 20-5 and 3-2 in the UFC. Yeah, David's a very experienced, well-rounded, guy. He's got a pretty good record. He's been competing since he was 18 years old. At one point, he won like 13 in a row, all by finish. And up until he got to the UFC, he extended his win streak into the UFC to 16 before he lost his last two. So obviously, very talented guy. The two guys that have beat him are some of the best flyweights in the world right now. I mean, Matheus Nicolau and Manel Kopp. Um, Manel Kopp can't even get a fight right now. Everybody's scared of him. All his opponents run, before the fights happen. So, yeah, Dvorak's first win in the UFC was his best victory of his career, I think, in my opinion. He beat Bruno Silva, who's on a tear right now in the flyweight division. So, he's got really good kickboxing. He could take a shot. He's only been knocked out once, and it was like 30 fights ago. So, he fights from both stances very well. He switches back and forth. Throws lots of volume. Good submission defense. Pretty good takedown defense. Very good cardio. Good front kicks to the liver. This is a fight that should be um, a good fight for Dvorak. He's taking on Steve Ursig. He is 27 years old, 5'9" with a 68.5-inch reach. He's going to have a half-inch reach advantage. He's 9-1, and this is going to be his UFC debut. And he was supposed to fight Clayton Carpenter a couple weeks ago, man, and that fight fell out. I don't know if that was Carpenter that withdrew or if it was Ursig, but Ursig's a pretty big flyweight. He's going to have a pretty big size advantage here. At least with the height and probably the size. But he's when I watched the tape on him a few weeks ago, it was he seems to be a very good grappler, have good submissions. Most of his fights that I watched all went the pretty much the same way. He would mess around for a little bit, get the takedown, get the submission. Hasn't really fought any good competition. He's coming in just from Eternal MMA. He hasn't fought in the Contender Series or anything like that. So there's a lot of unknowns with this guy. No, we're not really sure what we're going to get. And because that's the case, that's why I'm not confident enough to include anybody in this fight on a parlay or anything like that. I'm picking Dvorak to get the win. I think he's definitely better on the feet than Ursig, but we just don't. It's hard to say how good Ursig's grappling really is, being that he hasn't fought any super high level competition or anything like that. Dvorak's got the level up there. He's fought the way better opponents. It's just a risky fight because you're not really sure. How good Ursig really is. So I'm going to be picking Dvorak to get the win. Um, I'm gonna take him to win by decision just because Dvorak's got a lot of finishes on his record, but since he's been in the UFC, he hasn't been getting any finishes. So I'm picking him to get the win by decision. But it's a scary one to put money on, guys, because we just don't know that much about Ursig yet. So next up, we got Chris Dawkins taking on Khalil Roundtree. And Chris Dawkins is sorry, they moved it around. Uh, he is 33 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. He is 12-6 and 4-3 in the UFC. And I was a big fan of the Dawkins brothers whenever they first came in the UFC, and it's kind of sad how things went downhill for them both. Kyle kind of had a mixed bag of wins and losses, and now he's no longer with the promotion. I think Chris had a really good run, coming in the UFC, winning 4 fights in a row. I think it was all by knockout. They pushed him to the top too fast, in my opinion, and now he's on a 3-fight losing streak. All knockouts. He's been knocked out 3 times in a row, and this is going to be his light heavyweight debut, so we're not really sure. I mean, I expect him to look good, at lightweight, and once again, they've done him no favors here, though. He's taking on Khalil Roundtree, a very heavy hitter. It's not going to be an easy fight for him. He's got very heavy hands. He has 10 wins by knockout on his record. He has very good boxing. He's always been a small heavyweight, and that gave him a good speed advantage, at heavyweight. But his fights, he fights very well in the clinch, with his elbows and punches. He puts out good volume, good combinations. And it's really hard for me to give you much more than that, seeing that he either goes out there and gets the quick knockout or gets knocked out. I haven't got to see his ground game, even though I know his brother's very talented on the ground, so I would expect him to be pretty good himself. But I'm looking forward to seeing him at light heavyweight, and I hope he does well. I want Dawkins to win this fight. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I hope it goes well for him. He's taking on Khalil Roundtree. He is 33 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. He's 11-5 and 7-5-1 in the UFC. Roundtree's on a good run, even though I think he robbed Dustin Jacoby in his last fight. I thought he clearly lost that fight, and he's got big power in his hands, nasty elbows and knees. We've seen him take guys out with his kicks. Very good Muay Thai. Khalil has really put it together lately. He used to have fights where he would kind of go out there and not throw enough volume, or he would hurt guys and let him off the hook. But his past 3, he's been pretty locked in. Even though I thought he lost the Jacoby fight, it was a close fight. A very, pretty competitive fight. He's very strong, very explosive. Seems like a real nice guy. If you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast he did, we've seen him struggle at times with wrestling. I don't think that's going to be a worry in this fight. He counters very well. He's at his best when he's the one pushing forward and keeping his opponents on the back foot. Um, like I said, I want Dawkins to win. I'm a fan of his, but I got to go with Roundtree. If Chris wins this fight, I'll be happy and I'll be riding with him again. But after being knocked out 3 times in a row, I can't pick him, and I definitely can't put money on him. I'm not going to put money on either of these guys though. So I'm going to take Khalil Roundtree to win by knockout. I think the safest bets for this fight would be the under 1.5 or the under 2.5. And as far as what round do I think he wins in, I would say if he doesn't get the knockout in the first round, most likely it could go three, but we'll see how it goes, man. I'm rooting for Dawkins, man. Next up, we got Nasser Imavov taking on Chris Curtis, and Nasser is 27 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. He is 12-4 and 4-2 in the UFC. And this is kind of a similar story here. With Imavov, he got some good wins. He's very talented. He got pushed up to the top, really fast. Ended up fighting Sean Strickland and couldn't get anything going in that fight. He didn't get finished, but he did look horrible. And he has good striking. He's a big guy for the weight class. He moves very light on his feet, a lot like Cyril Gahn does. I believe they train together. He can go 3 rounds. Hasn't really finished anybody with his hands. In the UFC, I think he won with his knee and with elbows from the crucifix. Remember who that was? Ian Hine. Oh no, it was Edmund Shabazian he beat. And Edmund Shabazian's a pretty tough guy. Um, so he moves in and out of the pocket very well. He uses jab very well. He has a pretty good takedown defense. I don't think he's gonna have to worry about that in this fight though. He uses good front kicks. He's very good at controlling the range, and he fights very long. So this is definitely a winnable fight for him. Um, he's taking on Chris Curtis. He's 35 years old, 5'10" with a 75.5-inch reach. And even though Curtis is really short, or way shorter than Imavov, he's going to have a half-inch reach advantage. And he is 30-10 and 4-2 in the UFC. So yeah, Chris is Sean Strickland's teammate, so I'm sure they know what they're supposed to do, and they probably have a good game plan. Chris has good boxing, great counter striking, KO power in both of his hands. And I really want to pick Chris here, but if he goes out there and he fights like he normally does, I think he's going to lose the fight. If he doesn't go out, if he doesn't go out and put out a lot of volume, sometimes he tends to sit back and kind of wait for guys to make a mistake. And but Imavov is so good at getting in and out of the pocket and using his range well that if Chris I think he'll pick Chris apart, if Chris fights that way, and that tends to be how he fights most of the time. Both of these guys can take a punch. Have Imavov getting the win by decision, by getting, just kind of out voluming Curtis and staying out of harm's way. I want Curtis to win this fight, but like I said, his style of fighting and the way he fights, I think, plays in, really well for Imavov. So next up, we got Eamon Zahabi taking on a Corey Lang. I guess that's how you say it. So I'm probably not saying his name right, but I thought his name used to be a Corey Lang Hey Lee or something like that, and now it's just a Corey Lang. But um, so Eamon Zahabi is 35 years old. He's 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. He is 9-2 and 3-2 in the UFC. And if you don't know who this guy is, he's Varas Sahabi's brother, and Varas is the guy who coached GSP and a lot of really good fighters up in Canada. I'm actually pretty high on this guy. He caught a lot of criticism in the past because he lost a few fights and he wasn't very active. But he's put it together pretty well, man. He's looked very good in his last 2 fights, showing that he can fight smart and has a very high ring IQ. He uses lots of movement on the feet. Pretty good at setting traps on guys. And landing good strikes. Even though he likes to mostly strike, I think he does have a pretty good ground game. We just haven't got a chance to see it yet in the UFC. He's very those fast punches and combinations. He has good striking defense. He covers up well when shots are coming at him. Uh, he comes out kind of slow and he gets a feel for what his opponents are going to do. And he has a very powerful overhand right. Sorry, and he was a big underdog in his last win against Ricky Tercios. He stayed out of the way and countered and just landed the better shots and stuffed the takedowns and got the win. And before that he knocked out Draco Rodriguez. And that was a pretty impressive knockout. Everyone on Tapology is going with the Corey Lang in this fight. I'm not sure why. Maybe they haven't done the research or whatever, but uh, I don't quite understand the one-sidedness of it all. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, 62% are going with Corey Lang, and he is 29 years old. He's 5'7" with a 69.3 reach, so he's got a little over a reach or inch reach advantage. He's 24-9 and 2-2 in the UFC. And yeah, this guy's very experienced, very tough, but to me, there's a difference between, Zahabi being in a world class gym with guys like GSP his whole life and guys that are training with GSP and a guy who has a bunch of regional fights in China over guys that probably aren't all that good. Um, but he has improved quite a bit since being in the UFC. He looked good in his last two fights. But his wins have been over guys that haven't gotten a win in the UFC either, so that's something to consider as well. Um, you gotta think about that based on the tape that I've been watching. I don't think there's any way that he's going to be able to take Zahabi down. Zahabi has very good takedown defense. I'm not sure Zahabi has ever been taken down in the UFC, but I only watched three of his fights, so that are in the UFC anyway, other than some of his early ones that I've seen before. Um, here's the deal: Zahabi is a plus 115 underdog at this time, and I would jump on him. I did. That's one of my plays this week, so I think he has a very good shot at winning this fight. And I don't know if he gets a finish in this fight. I think maybe it's more of a decision because Corey Lang's pretty tough, man. He hasn't been finished in the UFC, but I think it's going to be a pretty exciting fight as well. And next up, we got Blake Builder taking on Kyle Nelson. Excuse me, I'm gonna grab some water. Builder is 32 years old, 5'8" with a 68.5-inch reach. He is 8-0-1 and 1-0 in the UFC. And yeah, Blake is pretty good. They're giving him an easy fight here, in my opinion. I wasn't very high on him coming into the UFC, but he looked pretty good in his debut. And he's a pretty big guy as far as muscle goes. He's a BJJ black belt. He was a champion in who was he fighting for before? Cage Fury. Yeah, it was the featherweight champion in Cage Fury. Um, and also he was a champion in Golden Gloves boxing. He's undefeated. Through his professional and amateur career. Fights pretty safe, moves side to side, counters, has good takedowns and grappling. He does need to throw more volume on the feet, in my opinion. But I say that, but he looked pretty good in his last fight. But this should be a pretty good matchup for him, in my opinion. He's going to have the grappling advantage all day for sure if he wants to use it. And he's taking on Kyle Nelson. He is 32 years old, 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. He's going to have a inch and a half reach advantage here. And he's 13-5 and 1 and 1-4-1 in the UFC. So Kyle always has a puncher's chance. He does hit really hard, very powerful. Not really sure how he managed to get a draw in his last fight. I thought he clearly lost that fight. Oh, he's gonna have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. My bad, I read that wrong. And if he can use it, I think that would serve him well. If he wants to win this fight, he's gonna have to keep it on the feet and really walk Builder down and cut off the cage. And I just don't see him getting the win here. Unless he just lands a big shot out of nowhere. I'm going to take Builder to get the win by third round submission. I think he's probably going to be smart about it and keep it on the feet for a little bit and get Kyle Nelson focused on, the stand up. And then he's probably going to shoot a takedown and take this guy down. Next up, we got Diana Velveeta taking on Maria Oliveira. And Velveeta is 26 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. She is 14-7 and 1-3 in the UFC. So she's one of the few Romanian fighters in the UFC. I like her striking. She was a national kickboxing champion in Romania. She has struggled a bit with the submission defense in the past. She throws nice leg kicks. This is more of her style of fight, I think, than some of the other fights she's had. I'm pretty sure this fight's going to mostly be on the feet. Both of these girls like to strike. She throws good knees in the clinch. This fight could probably go either way. There's not a whole lot that I've seen for me to really, talk highly of out of these two. Aside from, both of them being very tough and liking to, like to go out there and strike and battle. But She's taking on Maria Oliveira. She is 26 years old, 5'6", with a 69-inch reach. She's going to have an inch reach advantage. 13-6 and 1-2 in the UFC. And she's got pretty good Muay Thai. She's very tough. Like I said, she's going to have the reach advantage. They both have really bad takedown defense. I think it's a pick 'em on this fight. Let me see. Pretty sure it's still a pick 'em. Yeah, basically a pick 'em. And like I said, I think this fight could probably go either way. I think it's going to play out mostly on the feet. Um, in my opinion, I like Velveeta's striking more than Oliveira's. Oliveira might have a power advantage, but I don't think either of these girls are finishing anybody in the UFC. So I'll take Velveeta to get the win. I think if money does come in, I'm pretty sure Velveeta will be the one that's the underdog. A lot of people on Tapology seem to like Oliveira. Yeah, they're going 73% Oliveira, so I'll take Velveeta, man. Y'all know I like to take those underdogs. Not afraid to. Uh, Next up, we got Jasmine Jasdavicius taking on Miranda Maverick. And Jasmine is 34 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. She's 8-2 and 2-1 in the UFC. And I took Jasmine in her last fight, as a dog, and she got the win. Looked pretty good. Stuck to the game plan. She has pretty good grappling, good cardio. She's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage here. She's going to be the bigger, longer fighter here. But unfortunately for her, I don't think she will have the advantage anywhere in this fight. She has good grappling, but she's not gonna out grapple Miranda Maverick, and which is the way she'll have to win this fight. Um, like I said, if she's gonna win, she needs to get the takedowns and just win the rounds or get a submission. But I feel like that's a little too much too soon for her, honestly. Miranda Maverick's been around a while, and she's very impressive. And this is a big step up for Jasmine, man. A little bbit too quick, in my opinion. Miranda is 25 years old. She's 5'3" with a 65.5-inch reach. She is 11-4 and 6-2 in the UFC. Yeah, Maverick's very, very well rounded. She lost to Blanchfield, but there's no shame in that. Blanchfield's an amazing fighter. I thought Maverick won the Barber fight, but whatever. It was a split decision. She has great submissions. She's kind of short and stocky, very strong, good Muay Thai, great grappling. She trains up in Colorado, so the cardio's on point. And I think she's better everywhere the fight goes. So I'm sure most everybody agrees. I'm going to be taking Maverick to get the win by decision. Probably safe to bet, the over 2.5, over 1.5 on this. Most women's fights are pretty good for that. Next up, we got Mike Mallett taking on Adamfugit. I like this fight. I like both of these guys. Mike Mallett is 31 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach. He is 9-1 and 1 and 2-0 in the UFC. And yeah, Malot's very well rounded, great submissions, big power in his hands. Um, his fights so far in the UFC haven't been against super high level competition, in my opinion, but he's looked very good in those fights. As he should. He's a really good prospect, and this fight could be fight of the night, probably, man. I really like both of these guys. Um, all of Mallett's wins have been by finish. Most of them in the first round, pretty much. I think he's only ever been out of the first round one time. He's very tough. He's fighting at home here, so the crowd's going to be backing him. He has great footwork. We just don't know what the cardio is going to look like. Is my big question with him in this fight. He hasn't been out of the first round, and honestly, in the Mickey Gall fight, he was looking pretty tired. But he got the knockout, of course. But um, very good left hook. He knocked out Mickey Gall with that. He starts in southpaw in a lot of his fights, but he often switches back to orthodox. Not sure why he does that. Um, it's going to be a lot of people. Everybody's going with Mallett in this spot. So he's taking on Adamfugit. He is 34 years old. He's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. He is 9-3 and 1-1 in the UFC. And I think this guy is very underrated. He fought Michael Morales in his debut on very short notice and made a good account of himself. And I took him as a dog in his last fight, man. And he showed the more well-rounded fighter. He went out there, he got the takedown, and finished the guy with elbows from the mount. He has 5 wins by knockout and 3 wins by submission on his record. He throws a lot of kicks, good volume with the hands, lots of feints, good trip takedowns, killer ground and pound. I definitely think there's a path to victory for Adam here, man. And he needs to go out there and do exactly what he did in his last fight, and that's get the takedown, get the clinch, get the takedown, tire Mallett out, and take Mallett into the later rounds. And I think he can get the win. He has a 4-inch reach advantage here, so he'll be able to, play from the outside if he has to. So either, Mallett catches him in the first round or Fugit wins, the later rounds. And I'll take the risk on Fugit, man. I like him. I think he's a very talented fighter. I'm gonna take him to win by decision, but it's either a decision or a late submission, in my opinion. Next up, we got Dan Ige taking on Nate Landwehr. This is going to be a probably fight of the night. Very exciting fight. Um, sorry, still not over it completely. uh, Dan Ige is 31 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. He's 16-6 and 8-5 in the UFC. And, he's been around the top of the division for a long time. He's only lost to the best guys in the weight class. He made short work of Damon Jackson his last time out, which is pretty impressive because Damon was on a pretty good run at that point. He has big power in his hands, and it just goes to show that, just because some of these guys lose to, the guys at the top of the division, they're still levels above most. Damon looked pretty unstoppable for 3 or 4 fights there, and then Dan Ige, just ran right through him. And when Dan gets in the pocket, he does serious damage. He has 5-round cardio. He does not get tired. Likes to dig shots to the body. Great uppercuts and dirty boxing in the clinch. Good takedown defense. He puts out good volume as well. He looked very good in his last fight. He didn't take a lot of damage at all. He has 5 wins by knockout, 5 by submission on his record. His head movement looked way better in his last fight as well. And this is not a guy who's going to gas out like the Nate's opponents that he's had. Like his past 3 opponents have all gassed out before the first round was over. So he's taking on Nate Landwehr. He is 35 years old, 5'9" with a 70.5-inch reach. So Dan's only going to have a half-inch reach advantage. Um, Nate's 17-4 and 4-2 in the UFC. And Nate's a really tough guy, man. His best weapon is his cardio and his forward pressure. He's on a 3-fight win streak. But the people he beat, like I said, all gassed out in the first round. And, David Onama looked like he knocked Nate out and then woke him back up when he hit him again. So, and then Nate came back and won the fight. It was very impressive. And he's got a lot of experience. He was fighting tough Russian guys over in M1 before the UFC. He's very well rounded. I don't think he's going to be able to take Ige down here, though. Nate mixes up his kicks and punches very well, throws a lot of strikes. He does get hit a lot and he doesn't care. He just goes out there and tries to cause damage. He could take a punch for sure. He has pretty good submission defense. He's looked better each time we've seen him. Good elbows in the clinch. Just pushes a really tough pace on guys. And, he has a really nice anaconda choke. The way I see this fight playing out is, I think Nate's forward pressure is actually going to play into Dan Ige's game pretty well. Dan's very accurate, with his punches. He fights very well in the pocket, and Dan has the cardio to go 3 rounds, even 5 rounds, pretty much no problem. So I think Dan's going to get a second round TKO here, first round. So I got Dan Ige to get the win. Next up, we got Eric Anders taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. And this could be a pretty good fight as well. I like both of these guys. Eric Anders is 36 years old, 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. He's going to have an inch reach advantage. He's 15-7 and 7-1 in the UFC. Eric's a big guy with tons of potential. Very very good athlete, explosive. I think sometimes it's more his mentality with him that cost him some of his fights. He came out a few times and just didn't throw enough or was just too cautious. We saw his last time out, his power in that fight, man. He dropped Dawkins a lot of times. And whenever Eric's on, he can really beat anybody, but that's when he's on, and just you never know what you're going to get with him. So, he's been doing a lot of grappling competitions here lately, working on that part of his game. I'm definitely an Anders fan. I think he's a really cool dude, nice guy. I always want him to win. And I thought he won the Park fight as well. A lot of people agreed with me on that. He does tend to slow down in the third round quite a bit. His striking has looked a lot better. not the fastest on the feet, but very powerful. And in order to win this fight, he needs to be the one pushing forward. He needs to get an early finish. And like I said, he's going to have a slight reach advantage. He's taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. He is 33 years old, 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. He is 15-6 and 4-5-1 in the UFC. And this is another guy whose cardio is his best weapon. He constantly pushes forward. He throws a lot of volume. He keeps guys up against the cage. He'll really wear guys down, quick, trying to get takedowns and keeping them up against the cage in the clinch. He has big power when he gives himself enough space to use it. But he mostly kind of overwhelms fighters. We saw that in his last fight. He just kind of overwhelmed him and was just throwing tons and tons of little punches, uppercuts, elbows, everything, just back to back, not stop. Didn't stop for like a minute and a half straight. And what else? Honestly, when I first was going to break this fight down, I thought I was going to find a way to pick Eric Anders. That's who I wanted to pick, but after watching the tape, man, Mark's style is kind of tailor made to beat Anders. It's the perfect game plan for Anders. I don't think he finishes Anders. Anders is very tough, but I do think Mark wins the decision. I think he's going to wear on Anders and eventually get him down or could just control him up against the cage and fight him in the clinch and unless Anders lands a big shot early. But I think Barriault's going to get the win by decision, unanimous. Maybe Eric has a good first round, but Barriault's going to take over, in the second and third. Next up, we got the co-main event, taking Charles Oliveira taking on Beneil Dariush. This is going to be a really good fight, man. And I've told y'all, I told y'all probably, I don't even know how long ago it was, a month or two ago, they had this lineup on this fight. And, I told y'all I went ahead and put a play on Dariush. Um, and I figured the line would move, and that he would be a bigger favorite, but it's basically stayed the same, like a minus 120. Um, it's kind of a scary fight to bet. I don't know why. I just had a kind of a gut instinct to jump on that line, and it's been sitting there. So, um, Charles Oliveira is 33 years old. He's 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. He's 33-9 and 21-9-1 in the UFC, and it's an amazing record. He's a legend. Great Muay Thai, some of the best jiu-jitsu in the sport. He hits very hard, well-rounded. Um, he does tend to get dropped a lot in his fights, but he usually comes back and gets the win. Let's look at his record, man. And, he's fought everybody, and he's got a hell of an impressive resume, man. At one point he was on and how many fights in a row did he win? Was it like a 10-fight win streak? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fight win streak where he lost to Makachev. But he's beat Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, Jared Gordon, Nick Lentz, Jim Miller, Christos Giagos, Clay Guida. He lost to Paul Felder, lost to Ricardo Lamas, Anthony Pettis, Max Holloway. That was a 145. Most of his losses were at 145. So he lost to Frankie Edgar back in the day, Cub Swanson, Donald Cerrone, Jim Miller. Didn't he lose to Conor McGregor too? I thought. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Must be somebody else I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean he's fought everybody, and can't ever count him out at all. And I think he's going to be pretty hungry coming into this fight. He's taking on Beneil Dariush. He's 34 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. So Charles is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. He's 22-4-1 and 16-4-1 in the UFC. And he's on an 8-fight win streak right now. He's a BJJ black belt, very high level jiu-jitsu as well. He was like a champion, and I think he was won championships at brown belt, black belt, several high level jiu-jitsu competitions. His striking has looked a lot better. He's very powerful. He made Gamrot look like he didn't belong in there with him. He was very good at just kind of reversing what Gamrot was doing, and when Gamrot would try those leg picks, he would reverse him every time and kind of and sweep him or try to lock in a leg lock, which would make Gamrot panic and go somewhere else and try to get his leg away from Dariush. And his wrestling's really good as well, man. He's very talented, and after watching the tape on him, man, I think he's gonna win this fight. Um, and I think he's got a really good style, man. I think the only two people that give Makachev problems right now, that are in the lightweight division, as far as I guess most people in the division, I think the only two that really have a good shot at getting the win are Dariush and Arman Sarukian. And those are the two guys, like I said, that are in like the top 10 that I feel like have a chance. I'm sure there's other guys out there that are pretty good. I'd like to see Kudalice fight, Makachev and stuff like that. He's very talented, but he's got to get a few more wins. But I like Darius' style. I think his wrestling's good enough to get Charles down if he wants, but I think he's got the power to really hurt Charles on the feet. And as long as he can stay out of Charles' guard, I think he'll be good. But Darius is a very high level, jiu-jitsu guy himself. I don't know if he's going to get submitted. He's looked amazing here lately. I think it's his time. I think he's going to end up fighting Makachev for the belt. That's a fight that I would be too scared to put money on, man. But I think Darius has got a good shot at winning that fight. Next up, we got Amanda Nunes taking on Irene Aldana. And if I'm not mistaken, this one's kind of on short notice. I know Nunes was supposed to fight uh, Penne again, or what was her freaking name? Yeah, Jessica Penne, or Juliana Penne. Uh, and I guess she dropped out, and now Irene Aldana steps in on I don't know how short a notice, but Aldana was training for another fight, so maybe not too bad, maybe not just kind of a wrench in the game plan or whatever. But um, Nunes is 35 years old. She's 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. She's 22-5 and 15-2 in the UFC, and she's a legend. She's you know, the goat of women's MMA. At least that's what most people say. I still like Valentina. I know she lost her last fight, but Nunes lost a fight too, so it happens. Maybe she needed that loss to start taking things more seriously. So, but she looked very impressive, in the rematch, and she's very well rounded. She has big power in her hands. Hasn't I guess she's kind of been getting more so submissions as lately, more than knockouts. But she tends to just be better everywhere the fight goes, man, than all of her opponents. Um, maybe she was slacking a little bit, and that's how she lost that fight. But she's solid. She has good grappling, good submissions, good takedown defense, good takedowns. Very good Muay Thai, good knees, elbows in the clinch, all that stuff, man. And let's look at her record. She's got 13 wins by knockout and 4 by submission. And she beat Juliana Penne, Megan Anderson. That's not really an impressive win to me, but she did she did just run right through her. Felicia Spencer, Jeraine Durandamy, Holly Holm, knocked Holly Holm out, knocked Chris Cyborg out, uh, knocked out Raquel Pennington, went to a split decision with Valentina Shevchenko, and knocked out Ronda Rousey. There's tons of finishes on her record, man. Very impressive. And I would really like to see the rematch with her and Shevchenko. And she's taking on Irene Aldana. She is 35 years old. She's 5'9", with a 68.5-inch reach. She has had a little bit of trouble making weight. She missed weight in her last fight. Came in a couple pounds over. She's 14-6 and 7-4 in the UFC. And she's pretty tough. Good Mexican boxer. Very pretty powerful. She's gotten a few finishes. Well, the last one was up kick to the liver, but she's got some knockouts in the UFC. Let's take a look at the competition she's faced. And though Macy Chesson. I don't consider her super high level. I don't know if that fight was at 145 or 135. It's probably 135 since it was her last fight. Yana Santos, that was an impressive finish. She lost to Holly Holm not too long ago. Knocked out Caitlin Vieira. That's impressive. Vanessa Mello lost to Raquel Pennington. Um, Lost to Caitlin Chukagian. Lost to Leslie Smith. Uh, not totally convinced in my mind. I know that there's not a whole lot going on at the top of the women's featherweight and bantamweight division, but in my opinion, I think Holly Holm should be fighting Amanda Nunes right now, even more so than Aldana would. But I guess Aldana got a couple finishes, so that makes her more exciting, and maybe that's the reason that they bumped her up and gave her the shot on short notice. Um, I don't know, whatever. But you know, um, I think if Amanda Nunes wants to, she'll be able to get the fight to the ground. Not sure she's going to need to or want to. Um, Aldana might put out the more volume, might land more strikes. I think Nunes is probably going to be more powerful. Um, I think Nunes is going to win this fight. I know not a whole lot of people are wanting to put money on her anymore after the loss she had, but I think she's going to be better everywhere the fight goes. Like I said, man, and I don't know. I don't know if Aldana has ever been 5 rounds. Um, so I'm thinking probably a late finish for Nunes, maybe a fourth or fifth round submission. She's not as big of a favorite as she used to be a minus 700, minus 1,000 favorite, and I think she's like a minus 300 now, so or a minus 350. Um, but yeah, man, that's it for my picks, guys. Uh, Sorry if I sound like crap. And as far as my bets go, um, there will um, probably be if any prop bets or anything. Obviously, the props aren't out yet. Um, so if any of that is, I'll be posting those later on. And for the most part, I put together a couple of parlays. I usually have a lot more parlays than this. I didn't not writing everything up. I mean, some of them I reversed my picks on and all kinds of stuff. I just get creative. But so as far as my plays go, I got a play on Eamon Zahabi at plus 115. That's a 1 unit play. I got a 1 unit play on Benil Dariush at minus 120. I've got a two-man parlay of Builder and Ige. It's a plus 113. I got a half unit on that. And then as far as my bigger parlays go, I got a Zahabi, Builder, Maverick, Ige, Burial. That's plus 927. Don't have a ton of money on that, like $100. And then I added Imavov and Nunes to that, and that's plus 2,317. And then I made another one with all those, and then I added Fugit, and that's a plus 6,449. And I'm sure I'll have a Hail Mary parlay and all that, but y'all can put that together yourself out of my picks. So uh, I appreciate you guys, man. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding like crap. Sorry if this video is not quite up to par as far as all the information goes and everything. But I just wanted to get it out because I've been feeling like crap, and I just didn't want to put it off any longer. Um, Looking forward to this upcoming card in a few days. Albazi versus Kara France. Um, let's look at it real quick because some stuff's changed, just in case. Don't need to know anything. Um, so obviously, I had a ton of money riding on Kudalice, and he dropped out. So I had a 2-man parlay of Kudalice and Albazi. Um, so now that's just to play on Albazi, unless I cash it out and put my money on somebody else. But I'm probably just going to keep it on Albazi. Um, Told you I had a small play on Victor Altamirano, small play on Nurmagomedov, a couple of underdog plays. Jamie Malarkey's opponent has been switched to, I'm not really sure how to say it, Muhammad or Muhammad uh, Naimov. And I'm still going to go with, Malarkey on this fight, but really only because, Naimov's taken this on such a short notice. He's a very talented guy and everything. I just think Malarkey's had the full camp, and I don't know. It doesn't. Naimov usually fight at featherweight, I believe, so he's going to be up a weight class too, and Malarkey's going to have a pretty good size advantage. So, um, not putting any money on it, too many unknowns, but I'm going to go ahead and pick Malarkey on that. And John Casaneda's opponent is out, and I guess these are two guys from the same country, the two guys that jumped in. And this guy's name is Muin Gafarov, and kind of torn on this one, man, because Gafarov is a pretty talented guy. Um, but I think I'm still going to go with Castaneda on that fight. I was pretty confident in Castaneda winning his fight before, but now not so much. I don't know if I wouldn't put a straight play on him. I might have him mixed into some parlays and stuff, but yeah, not super confident in that anymore. And as far as everything else, it looks like it's all still the same, man. I'm sweating this card, guys, because one of y'all pointed out to me after I did my video. You're like, your pick's 6 underdogs. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not scared. uh, and I put money on 2 of them, and this is one of those cards that either is going to go very, very well or very bad. So a lot more confidence in the pay-per-view card coming up, but this one, don't know, man. I'm either gonna pick half the fights wrong and none of my bets will hit, or, or I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Excited to get back to some fights. And as far as anything else, man, I'm not gonna do the competition on this video because we still haven't got. Only a couple of people's tried to win on the other video for the Albazi Care France card. So I'll do the contest again on my next show after I see if anybody won on this one. So, um, but yeah, man, that's it for me, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. I'm up over 250 subscribers now, so happy about that. Appreciate all the support, and I love bullshitting with you guys. Uh, yeah, man, that's it for me, man. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week, man.